What's up, y'all? It's Chug Rock, aka Kendrick. Right now, I'm going to talk about how good and evil is self-existent without no creation. And the reason why I say that and know it's a fact is because in order for good and evil to come about, it will have to have a person behind the evil, you know. So good and evil present only exists if somebody bring forth it out, you know, like a good deed. Good and evil don't exist without a person dwelling, bringing it to pass. Like, say for instance, I do a good deed. I give my mom's or grandmother something for Mother's Day. You know, or any person give their mother something for Mother's Day. Or give my father something, give your father something for Father's Day. Which I don't have my father, but you know, I'm using that for example. You know, that's a good deed. That's good, you know. You know, bad is like I stole. Evil, aka bad, is I stole something from the store. I went to jail for. I did something evil. You know, it's basically bringing something to pass. You know, it's not created. You know, it exists on its own. Good and evil exists on its own. It don't need no creation. It never was created. It's self-existent. The reason why it's self-existence is because in order for it to even exist, a human or any kind of being, you know, would have to commit the act of good or evil. You know, without a person doing it, you know, I don't care if it's an animal, you know, being vicious and by the innocent person. Good and evil just does not exist outside of somebody or some kind of being doing it, you know. You heard me? If a human being don't bring forth a good or bad deed, then good or animal or any type of creature, you know, it doesn't exist. You know, it's non-existence. Good and evil is two self-existing things that only exist when somebody bring it out, show it. You know, good and evil only exists when somebody show it. You know, it doesn't exist outside of that. You know, that's why it's not created. You know, ain't no God creating no damn good and evil. That doesn't even make any sense. Because in order for it to even exist, you will have to, something will have to bring it out, show it, you know. Just like the example I gave you. You know, I can't be good unless my actions express that. I can't be bad unless my actions express that. You know, so to make me bad, I will have to do bad deeds. To make me good, I will have to do good deeds. You know, vice versa. So, good and evil don't exist outside of bringing forth it, outside of not bringing forth it out. You know, so God can't say a God in the Bible created good and evil. Especially if he a good God, how can he be controlling the narrator of both of them? You mean to tell me he is good God and he the narrator of evil too? And he against evil? He say evil can't stand by his sight? The Bible God? You crazy. You know? To think that way. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us thought that way. You know? You know, the ones that's like me, if there's many of me out there, I'm pretty sure y'all thought that way until y'all woke up. And, you know, oh, this can't be right. You know, because I thought that way. You know, I thought the dumb way until I started thinking the smart way. You know, like I do now. Leave religion and you will see what I'm talking about. You will see things that you've been taught what is ridiculous. You know, sounding ridiculous. You heard? And that's ridiculous, saying good and evil is created. Especially by a good God. How you gonna be the narrator of both of them? You saying he all good, and he be so much of against dirt, and then punishing people for why the hell he create the evil? See, people don't think about that, but that's for a whole nother video. That could be for a whole different video. That's a whole different topic right there. I can discuss, you know, in a whole separate video. That's for a whole nother video. I ain't even gonna go into that deep with that. You know, y'all just gotta wait till I do that video. When I do it, if I do it, you know, if I remember to even do that, you know. 9 times out of 10, I probably is gonna do that, but you know, that don't make sense, you know, for y'all to think that way. You know, not to get too off topic, but yeah, back to what I'm saying. You know, good and evil is self-existence. You know, self-existing. In order for good and evil to even exist, something would have to manifest it out, like a human, an animal. You know, you heard? So, that's what it is, you know. So, saying a God created good and evil, it's just mind-blowing. How I was sucked into believe that, or anybody that was sucked into believe that, they got out of Christianity and stopped being religious. You know, atheists, you know, people that say just spiritual and don't believe in the Bible history and philosophy, you know, that don't make sense. It's crazy how we used to believe in this garbage. A lot of this stuff that's in the Bible is garbage. You know, it's crazy. You know, when you start to wake up, it sounds ridiculous. The stuff that we suck. How could you like, man? I was that dumb. You heard? And start getting smart until you start getting smart. He or she. So, yeah, man, that's ridiculous, bro. There's something wrong with that. You know, how you gonna create something that only would manifest if you bring it out? That's crazy. So ain't no such thing as a God or any being, any alien God being that created good and evil. You know, how the F that just pissed me off, bro. Thinking about that right now, you know, that pissed me off. That you know, it's crazy, bro. That's sick. You know, for me to believe, once believed in that bullshit, bro. You know, because, you know, it just don't make no sense, bro. If we listen to what I just said, that shit don't even make no sense. And if you still saying it does, there's something wrong with you. You really brainwashed, you know. If you can't see that, how I gave it to you like that, then I don't know what to say. You know, you need to get some help, bro. You know, that's that Christianity drug. You know, God in the beginning, God created the heaven and all that bullshit. You heard? When it went on damn one God anyway. Come on now. But yeah, let's not get too carried away. You know, this shit just bullshit, bro. Religion just pissed me off, you know. Religious people piss me off, period. Too, you know. Being in the bullshit, you know. This world crazy. Majority of people think like this and sucked into religions, beliefs. That'll be cool.